Hey, what is up guys? Welcome once again to the channel. It's always great to have you back, and if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. Remember that in this channel we talk about chemical and process engineering for both students and professionals. So do not hesitate and click on the notification bell so you get all my latest videos. Now, story time. It's been a long time since I wanted to share my story on the TU Dresden or TU Dresden, which is a university in Germany. And really what I want to share with you guys is my experience as an exchange student in Germany, properly in Dresden, Germany. And of course guys, if you like the video, please let me know in the comment section, because I do still have a story time for my internship days back in Germany. So if you want to hear of that as well, please let me know. But for now guys, let's stick to the student experience alone. Now, for sure, this is of interest for those persons that are willing to go to study abroad, more specifically to Europe, maybe specifically to Germany. But I'm pretty sure that this will not only help those students willing to go to Germany, but in general, willing to go abroad to the US, to the UK or so. Now, I separated the video in many parts. The first one will be on how I manage and prepare myself to go to Germany. The second part will be more focused towards the city, essentially Germany itself, and more importantly, the university. Then continuing, I will talk about being there, what I felt, what it feels to be a student, what I liked and what I disliked of being there. And the last part will be the aftermath once I get back to my country of origin. How did being in Germany help me to boost my resume, to get jobs, and how I feel overall great on being an exchange student in Germany. So without further ado, let's get started. So first things first, why even go to Germany? There are many options, especially if you are from Mexico, you will typically go to the US, but I really wanted to go and have a much more different experience. So I checked out in Europe and there were many options: France, Spain, Italy, UK, and of course Germany. Germany is known to have a lot of background in sciences, in engineering, and of course in chemical and process engineering. I'm probably sure that you have heard about very important companies such as BASF, Bayer, Henkel, Merck, Evonik, and much more. And not only that, Germany has great opportunities for both students and professionals. So if you want to go and study engineering, they have great programs. And if you want to stay, you can get a lot of engineering opportunities. It's also important to remark that Germany is kind of cheaper with respect to maybe Spain, UK, or France regarding education, transportation, and housing. So although the experience of going to Europe or going abroad is always expensive, it's still kind of possible to make it. So really I knew that I wanted to go to Germany maybe from high school, so I prepared myself and started learning German. I tried my best, I got through A1, A2, I stick to B1, and later on in my university I went through B2, which is essentially very basic German. Believe me guys, it really says that you are almost able to communicate, but once you're in Germany, it's not quite at all. But anyways, that's on the language guys. Let me stick to the ability of me going to abroad. So I really like Germany because they have a special scholarship for young engineers, especially from Latin America. You can get a scholarship. It's not huge scholarship, but really guys, who pays anything in the bachelor level? You can get a scholarship in master degrees, PhD degrees, but getting something in bachelor is not quite common. The scholarship requires you to do some things. For instance, having a German level before going to Germany, taking a German course in Germany, which was great, studying one semester and trying to get an internship in Germany for another semester. For this, you will get paid around 200 to 250 euros. You will get legal help, you will get counseling, and of course, much more. The scholarship comes from the DAAD or DAAD or the Deutsche Akademischer Austauschdienst, which is the German for the German Academic Exchange Service, essentially an organization that helps you to go from abroad to Germany. They really help a lot. As stated before guys, the great thing in Germany is that you typically will not pay a high tuition. So actually you get to pay a tuition between 300 to 500 euros, and with that you will get your semester ticket for transportation. It can be full transportation in the city, in the state, or maybe in the region all around. You're able to get student Wohnheim, which is essentially a student accommodation, which is very cheap and great because you meet a lot of people. And you get to go to the Mensa, which is essentially a cafeteria, which is really cheap. Now, to apply to this program, it was very straightforward. I just fill up the application, I show my German proficiency, and more importantly, show the will that you want to go to Germany. Why do you want to go there? Show that you have read about Germany, that you know why they're great at German engineering maybe, that you know German brands. All this is very important because they get to know you and accept you in the program. Really, once that you get accepted, is all straightforward, there's no problem. You just need to fill all the documents, you get your student visa, and then you just buy your ticket to go to Germany. Now, once in Germany, it was great because we had 2 months of German in a small town called Göttingen, which is great. They speak great German, you can understand them, and it's actually very near to many places in Germany. So I took advantage on traveling. But now let's talk about Dresden, which is the city that I went to study, and the university, which is actually the TU Dresden, which is Technische Universität, which is essentially technical university for Dresden. So first things first, Dresden is in East Germany, which means that it's very cheap overall. You will have cheap accommodation, cheap transportation, you will have cheap food, and overall all the experiences are not that expensive. On the other hand, they are not quite open for foreigners, or it's kind of hard to make relationships happen. But overall, I will say that Dresden is a great city. It's a very beautiful city, it has a lot of culture, it has a lot of beautiful buildings, it has a lot of action, and a lot of party, if you like that. Regarding the university, it's once again great. The university has one of the top chemical engineering degrees for both chemical and process engineering. The faculty is actually very great. They have great installations. They have a lot of institutes, which is something like the private corporations plus government plus university working jointly together towards a single goal. This is great because you can find a lot of opportunities there. You can find research opportunities, you can find internships, and of course you can find work maybe as a professor or as a research lab assistant. Overall, the university experience was great. I really had several issues adapting because definitely something different from what I was used. My university back in Mexico was pretty similar to those in the US in the sense that you have to go to the course, you have a single professor, you have several tests, projects, homeworks, and so on. But here in Germany, what I saw is that it was quite common to have only one final exam and that's it. So 100% marks was going to that final exam, and if you did great that day, congratulations. If you did bad, I'm so sorry. On the other hand, I also learned that Germans love to study by themselves. They don't like to go and feel this pressure of needing to go to class because they want to study there. No, they really like to go by their own pace. Lectures are way much more interesting in the sense that it seems like a debate or like a seminar. There is a lot of interaction between the professor and the students, which is something that I was not used. Typically, what I will do is ask something to my professor will reply, will answer me, maybe explain me a little bit. I will jot that down and that will be it. But here it was like a debate and discussion, which was great. Now, looking forward, I am really ashamed I didn't ask much more questions. And yes, the language that we used was German. As you can see, in Germany, it's not quite common to have English classes. They will typically have only German classes. Maybe for international courses, they will have something like English or German or half and half. But overall, expect all your classes to be in German. And before I forget, guys, one thing I really liked was also that you could go to any class and there's no problem. Actually, you don't need to be enrolled to a certain course. You can attend to maybe 20 classes if you want it, but overall what you will end up doing is to present exams for those that you actually care. So maybe you're interested in manufacturing, you attend a class on manufacturing. And maybe you like quality, and maybe you want to learn more on statistics, and maybe you want to learn more on heat exchanger design. And maybe you want to go and learn more about marketing. Those options are possible, and actually there's no one that's going to tell you no, you cannot do that, and yes, you can do that. You need to build your own syllabus by yourself. What I want to share is also not only the university experience, but the interaction between university and living there. I really love that they have great transportation. It was included in the semester ticket, and you could use the bike. It was maybe 3 to 4 kilometers, something around 20 to 30 minutes by bike. But unfortunately, as you can imagine, I was not expecting a very cold winter, and indeed it happened. It was raining, it was very cold, and it was very snowy. So definitely something to consider if you are not a great fan of snow. Now let's go to the things that I really like from my student experience in Dresden. As stated before, guys, it was self-paced. I really appreciate the ability of going by my own pace. It's something that is very valuable because you can advance at your own rhythm. There's no limit of attendance, so if you want to attend 100% of the classes, that will be okay. If you want to attend 50%, that will be okay. And if you just want to attend the final exam, that will be still okay for you to go there, write your name, and actually fill up the exam. Of course, there are some courses that you really need to make some projects, but overall, the experience I saw was that the final exam is 100% of your mark. I also really love that we had a special status as exchange students, so they will really pay extra attention to you and they will try to help you. We had several classes with the main head of the faculty, which was great, of course. We had several courses which were in English for those willing to study those specific courses, which I will say it can be great if you want to have good grades, or it can be bad because you will not be able to learn more German. Talking of which, I really appreciated having to learn technical German things. It's not the same having to study German in an average institution, which is of course for everyone, rather than studying the technical terms that you are most likely going to encounter in work or in the industry. For instance, if you want to talk about heat exchanger, pressure drops, you want to talk about plates, you want to talk about maybe separator, revolver, reflux, mole ratio, all these chemical engineering terms, you can try to translate them from English, but many times you will see that Germans have a specific word for something. So something to consider, guys, if you have the English option and the German option, definitely check the options of going for the German one so you can learn those technical terms, especially if you want to stay in Germany. It really helped me a lot, especially to get my internship and to understand a lot in my internship. You will see later on that staying in Germany, many Germans, especially at work, are not willing to wait for someone that does not dominate the German language, especially when something is urgent. Another thing to remark are the professors. I don't know how Germans do it, but all the professors were very qualified. Everyone was studied at least master's degree, PhD. Everyone had worked in a important, renowned institute. They have worked in important industries and so on. So it's something great to take advantage from. And what else I can tell you guys? Well, I would say that also not having to buy books is something great. It really helps the student because you don't need to buy those expensive books. You can always get those books in the library or get something online. It's not that of a problem, which is great, especially because it helps the student finances. Okay, now that we know the great things of studying in the TU Dresden, which is of course great, we need to remark those things that are not that great. Number one, guys, of course, is the language. If you are having problems with German, you are going to have a very hard time studying there because you will not be able to listen to the professor, understand, write your notes. If you need to get some copies, it will be in German. If you need a book, typically it's from German authors. And if you want to work in projects, a lot of Germans will just simply talk in German. It will be kind of hard to interact in your project group in English. So sure, German can be a problem as well. Second, I really think that professors are very strict. They are not that flexible. They will not allow you to do certain things that I will say some other type of professors will do. For instance, if you have a scheduled project or presentation, they will hardly allow you to move it. They will ask you a lot of things, a lot of questioning is there, which is of course not that used, at least in my experience. I will also assume that as an exchange student, they will be much more relaxed because of course you're in a different country, different culture, you're learning German, it's very hard. And many of them will even treat you much more harsher than the average student. Another important thing to remark, and this is way much more cultural rather than from the university or from Dresden, is that people is much more closed. Or at least they are not quite open as in Mexico or maybe other country. Maybe even in the US, I think it's pretty easy to make friends or at least people that you can hang out together or so. In Germany, it was quite the opposite. I saw a lot of repulsion towards actually creating a friendly relationship or so. They are quite polite, of course, but they are not willing to invest in a relationship, which of course I understand because they know that you are from abroad and you will be leaving soon. So why even start a relationship? But I really think that it's very important to try to make bonding in the community, in this case in the university. Another thing I really hated was that you were not able to know what to study or where to study from. So essentially it's 1 week away from your exam and you have no idea what to learn, where to study from, what to read, and your notes are not the best of all. And not only that, there may be a lot of materials or content that the professor may have recommended you to check or so, just like a random manner, and then suddenly it's in the exams. So yeah, quite hard to know what to study. Another thing I wanted to share, guys, is that extracurricular was very strange back there. It was not quite easy on what things were open for extracurriculars. For instance, if you want to make some art, if you want to do some sports, if you want to do some chess, maybe a club for reading books, anything that you may be enjoying as a normal student, as a extracurricular activity, it was very hard to get informed. And once that you knew about that, going and attending and being able to be part of the group was very differently from what I was used to. Back in my university, it was pretty straightforward. You had 1 week, you could choose all the extracurriculars, and if not, you will always be able to see that online and attend whenever you want. If you like it, you stay. If you don't like it, you don't stay. But in the TU Dresden, it was very hard to get informed of what activities were there and of course to attend those. Another thing I felt, which was kind of normal in German universities, with the exception of maybe TU München and TU Berlin, is that there is no sense of belonging, loyalty, or maybe proudness of being part of the university. For instance, in the US, you see all these hoodies with the university name, and you see all the students that love the university. You even see a lot of rivalry between universities in sports or in academia. But in Germany, I didn't feel that was the case. I didn't saw students wearing hoodies of the university. I never heard someone that was so very proud to be in this university. And it's something that is clearly different. I think it's cultural, but it's something that we should consider just different. And finally, guys, this is much more towards the city and not that much into university, but I think it's very important because it's like a coexisting problem. And is that we're talking about East Germany, and there are a lot of buildings that are with communist architecture. You will see that they are, I don't know, guys, but it really seems very different. And especially my own Wohnheim, which was my student apartment, was very sad. It was very old. It didn't look that they actually injected some money into the building. So it's something definitely to consider, and sure to get a good student Wohnheim if possible. And finally, guys, something that I was always taught is that, specifically in Saxon or near Dresden, you will see that these are the most right-winged people or right-wing minded persons that are anti-foreigners or are very nationalistic and all this. And of course, you can see some of them in the street, especially whenever they rally for political reasons. For instance, in the Dresden bombing commemoration day, you will see that there is a beautiful demonstration, which is of course peaceful. The next day, you will see that there's a lot of persons that are very, let's say, right-winged, because I don't want to get the video demonetized, but you will see that these are, of course, not so friendly. But overall, I will say that people are polite, not that friendly, of course, but definitely they are not unfriendly. Before we finish the video, I want to leave a closure or ending on specifically the aftermath of my experience. So, of course, I learned a lot of German, which was one of the main reasons. And I also wanted to work there, and I got an internship because of the help of the DAAD program. Not only that, the university opened me a lot of windows, a lot of opportunities. I learned how the German educational system works. So if I will really go and wanted to go and study a master's degree, I will be able to do so. If I wanted to go and try to apply for a job, I will be able to do so as well, because you already have the experience. So those three options, learning German, being able to go and study a master, and being able to get a job, are overall great. But I will really say that especially what I felt was something greater. I really found myself, I learned more about other cultures. I really think that I evolved as a person, so it's way much more than just having an academic exchange. You're going to be growing as a person. And I'm sure that this experience of going abroad is definitely recommended for anyone willing to grow as a person. You will be learning about new cultures. You will feel smaller because you now know that the world is greater. You will feel much more interested in other cultures. Maybe you want to take the challenge of going and study abroad for a master's degree. Maybe you want to work abroad, and that will be possible as well. The main idea, or let's say the moral of the story, is that go for it. If you are maybe thinking on going, do it. It's definitely worth it. And that's it. That's what I wanted to share with you guys. Before we go, please leave us in the comment section, guys, if you went to Germany, if you went to a technical university in Germany, maybe to France or any other exchange student experience. It will be greatly appreciated. Let us know what you think about it. Is it worth it? Is it not? What would you have done differently? Or any comment, any suggestion is more than welcome. On my behalf, that will be it, guys. I'll see you in the next video, or better said, Auf Wiedersehen, wir sehen uns in the next video.